Wow, guys, you won't believe what just happened. Joy Behar, she only asked just one question and the interview was over. Hey, welcome back. It's me, Kevin, with the truth, and stick around to the end of the video to hear my thoughts on it. But before we dive in, don't forget, give the video a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. And these are the types of videos and chats and conversations you like. All right, now let's get right into it.
Outspoken against violence and gun violence in particular. And you're Texan, and you spoke so passionately at the White House last year in the wake of that shooting at Robb Elementary in your hometown of
That's why we're wearing these little pens, right?
And now you have launched the Green Lights Grant Initiative to help make schools safer.
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Thank you for the opportunity to. So what we found out after what happened at Robb Elementary and many other schools, the first bill was passed in 30 years to help make schools safer, Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, billions of dollars to safen schools. What I find out months after the bill's been passed is that very few applications are going in from the school districts. And for those that are applying, very few are getting granted and awarded. So the money's still there. And we're like, wait, where's the gap? Well, we found out that these superintendents have to fill out these grants to the government. A lot of them are driving the school bus and they're the PE teacher, and this grant process is 50 pages and it's intimidating.
Wow.
And I don't know about y'all, but I have trouble making it through filling a custom card out without having to scratch stuff out. It is intimidating, so they don't have the expertise at the time. The government wants these grants to be filed. They want to spend the money. It's use it or lose it money. And if we don't spend that money that the government has by 2026, it could be reallocated.
In 2021, you considered to run for governor of the state of Texas. Do you think political office is in your future? Can you see that?
If it's where I would deem myself to be most useful, yes.
Do you think you could get elected in Texas being anti-gun?
Do I think I could get elected in Texas being anti-gun? One thing about if me in politics is to give you a direct statement right there is me playing a game that I'm not interested in playing.
Okay.
To give you a direct statement right there.
Man, wow, guys, that's what they do on The View. They try to put words in your mouth and they put you on one side and put everybody else on the other side to make you try to go against each other. And they literally want to push an agenda every single time. Now, this time with their guest, Matthew McConaughey, he's never said that. And he's never actually picked a side. All he said was that there needs to be better gun control. So let me know what you guys think about gun control. And don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe if you're new.
When we're in the middle of the chaos, we feel like it's on us and on us only. And how in the heaven or hell are we going to get out of it? Faith being something that we can on our own in the 4 a.m. solitude with ourselves, as well as in the masses in the arena of millions of people. Faith is something, a truth, that a stability, that where our head and heart connected with our spirit, where we can feel stable and go and trust ourselves, trust that sometimes this too shall pass. Trust that I'm playing the longer game. No, we're in the immortal race. This is small stuff. This inconvenience that I'm in right now, and believe in that and understanding that helps us get through a lot of crises. And it's not tomfoolery. It's not foolish optimism. It's real.
There's a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of falsehoods, lies, and narratives being pushed by Hollywood right now.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
It's happening. Jimmy Kimmel has been muzzled and taken off the air by his network ABC, who are buckling to and trying to appease the Nexstar media conglomerate, who have a lot of affiliates, and they threaten to preempt him at the suggestion of the SEC chair. This is government censorship. This is the Trump administration coming after people who speak out against him.
I was supposed to go over and have a chat with my friend Jimmy Kimmel on his show, but as you have heard by now, the Jimmy Kimmel show has been pulled indefinitely, abruptly, because of complaints from from the Trump administration. So let's see. He didn't end the Ukraine war or solve Gaza within his first week, but he did end freedom of speech.
What do you make of it, Jason?
Well, it's troubling to say the least, and we all have to really take a moment and figure out how we feel about this type of thing, especially, people doing what you do. But I imagine there's plenty of conversations going on to do something, because you just can't stand by and let stuff like that go on.
Stuff like?
Well, Jimmy getting his show pulled for, freedom of speech.
ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late night show indefinitely.
ABC is pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely.
Kimmel was going nuclear over this. He's furious.
This is just despicable, disgusting.
How can y'all cancel Jimmy Kimmel? I gotta leave this country.
The folks who are complaining about canceling people are canceling people.
The same people that bitched and complained about freedom of speech and cancel culture.
Donald Trump is coming for our rights.
It's more than half of this country voted for the criminal, still trying to figure out what happened.
It is outrageous. It's a page right out of Xi's playbook. This is just despicable, disgusting, and against democratic values. Trump and his allies seem to want to shut down speech that they don't like to hear. That is not what democracies do. That is what autocracies do. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with Kimmel or not. He has the right to free speech. And so it is just outrageous, and I am just outraged by it.
So if Jimmy Kimmel being fired for lying about the Charlie Kirk shooter is fascism, then what would Chuck Schumer say about Tucker Carlson being fired for telling the truth about January 6th?
Rupert Murdoch has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight, now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth.
This is a red line that has been crossed for our industry, for the First Amendment, for the right of people to speak. There was nothing hateful about what was said, and even hateful speech is protected. This is not acceptable. Yeah. If you are going to run a media organization, it's called a news organization, you have to stand up to government bullying anywhere in the world, and certainly in the United States.
Well, the job should be to, speak truth to power, even when there are people who don't like the word truth anymore.
So let me get this straight. The same people who invented misinformation, and don't forget its close cousin, disinformation, to censor millions of Americans trying to get to the bottom of the COVID situation, are suddenly saying it's okay to push outright lies on national television?
Jimmy Kimmel, they're trying to cancel Jimmy Kimmel. I'm sure you've heard the news by now, but I've been going through the internet looking for the clips to see what they're mad or upset about, and I can't find it. These are I can't find it. The one that they have on there, I don't see where that's even controversial. The guy's a comedian. This is the same party, the same group of people who complained about everything is too woke. Comedians can't say anything anymore. They're killing comedy. The folks who are complaining about killing comedy are killing comedy. The folks who are complaining about canceling people are canceling people. What does that tell you? That they don't believe in anything that they're saying, that they've said, that they have no core. All it is if it doesn't fit their particular ideology or belief, then they don't want to hear it. And that's the moment that we're in now. This is a very dangerous and scary moment for America. This should send a chill or a shiver up every American spine, regardless if they're a Democrat or a Republican. This is some scary shit. We don't want people ratting out people who are saying things that they don't agree with, or saying things that they deem to be negative about the sad and tragic death of Charlie Kirk. That's like, to me, it reminds me of back in the day when you had to rat people out because you believe that they belong to a certain political party. I thought America was beyond that. I guess we're going back to that time now.
So let me get this straight. Don Lemon is implying that saying that the shooter is one of them, meaning the shooter is MAGA, was just a joke? Wait a minute, roll the tape. Let's see if there's a laugh track there.
With the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Wow, no one's laughing, and it sounds pretty serious. Leave it to Democrats to not even be able to recognize humor.
You live in New York?
Who are you?
Don Lemon.
You're a fucking moron, dude.
Boom, roasted, got him.
The news about Jimmy Kimmel, I think, is a pretty watershed moment. I think we all need to be talking about. We actually, and it's not just a media story. I know you agree with me on this. It's not just a media story. It's a democracy story. It's a freedom of speech story. It's so many things. And I've been thinking a lot today about how I lived through years of answering questions from a lot of these network journalists, people who ask tough questions. Sometimes I was pissed off at them. That's part of what we do. And this is threatening that.
Suddenly uttering falsehoods is a freedom of speech issue? Where have these people been for the last 10 years? Remember this photoshopped lady the Democrats hired to appeal to young men?
The same people that bitched and complained for the last decade about freedom of speech and cancel culture just got Jimmy Kimmel's very successful late night show completely taken off the air indefinitely because he said something that they didn't like. At the same time that's been going on, the president of the United States has been filing defamation lawsuits against major media outlets to the point that they just settle so that they don't have to have it drawn out in court. If you think that freedom of speech is protected in America right now, you are not paying attention.
And when you actually listen to Jimmy Kimmel's comments, which I posted on my page, you can see that they are very mild. He's not even making fun of Charlie Kirk. He's making fun of Donald Trump. These executives know that Jimmy Kimmel did not say anything outrageous, yet they are bending the knee to Donald Trump because they're scared of him. They're scared of retaliation or having licenses pulled. Two things are clear from this story. Number one, these big companies are not going to protect us. Independent media is more important than ever. But number two, Donald Trump is coming for our rights. It's not a hypothetical. It's not something that might happen in the future. It's happening right now before our very eyes.
Just like his buddy Jen Psaki, they make zero mention of Jimmy Kimmel lying about the shooter and saying the shooter was MAGA when the Charlie Kirk shooter was a deranged pro-trans leftist.
I don't know what he said. I don't care what he said. I don't know or care what he said. He's a fucking comedian. He's a fucking comedian. You're supposed to be able to say whatever you want. How can y'all cancel Jimmy Kimmel? I gotta leave this country. What in the fuck is going on? Who cares? I don't care. I don't know what he said. I don't care what he said. He is a comedian. He is a comedian. So y'all gonna take anything he said serious enough to where ABC cancels Jimmy Kimmel?
I love how liberals are finally realizing that comedians can be canceled. You guys are about 9 years too late, but I guess it's the thought that counts. Of course, the former Biden-nominated FCC commissioner says that Jimmy Kimmel made, quote, no unfounded claims.
But I understand Jimmy Kimmel is a satirist and a comedian. I saw the clip. He did not make any unfounded claims, but he did make a joke.
Except the literally false claim about the shooter, which has no foundation in reality.
You know, so what you have here is you have capitalist pressure. Capitalist pressure is really important because what happens is you have to make money or you have to do something of value so that you can get something in return. Now, the interesting thing is it's false advertising because honestly, I mean, look, Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take anything away from that. But the fact of the matter, can you remember a political joke that went viral, what was something really funny of his? There was no attempt in humor at all in what he said. And as a matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix. This isn't cable. This is broadcast TV. And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public. And to get that license, you have to be in the interest, like you said, of the public. And so that's why when there's a news van parked in the white zone, they don't get a ticket because they are there to present news to inform the public in the public interest. So what happens is 25% originally was supposed to be the news to inform it, just to get that license. So when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest, like Jimmy Kimmel did the other night. mislead and lie, and actually was something dangerous. So with the FCC chairman, he didn't say that he was going to pull the license. He was going to give them a warning and ask for an apology, if what I understood on the Benny Johnson show. And so that's not the government doing it. And when 246 different stations around the country say we're no longer airing this, it's because they heard from their consumers. They heard from their customers. And they said, that's it. We're not doing it. And so Nexstar, who's a great guy over there, Sean Compton, said, that's it. He's the CEO and said, when we have complaints like this and none of the channels, 246, because I'm sorry, it's not just LA and New York. There are people in between who have a real sense of decency and who realize that what you had here was you had someone who wanted to have conversations and debate, and for somebody who was gunned down for that. So while I don't want to ever celebrate somebody losing their TV show, I think the outrage over somebody losing their TV show should be dwarfed by the outrage over somebody losing their life over a decent, God-fearing, wonderful, lovely person trying to have conversations. So that's where my concern goes.
Speak truth to power.
I just want to remind everybody that what you are witnessing right now is not cancel culture. No. What you are witnessing right now is consequence culture, accountability culture. Those two words are foreign to the vocabularies of the other people on the other side of the aisle from me. There has been no consequence. There has been no accountability for horrible rhetoric or blatant lies that have been told. A friendly reminder for the crowd that is yelling that their First Amendment is being infringed upon. What the First Amendment is there for is to protect you from your government, from persecuting you for the things that you say. Now, granted, you can't say certain things on an airplane. You can't say certain things in a classroom. You can't type out or say threats. But for those of you that are spreading moralist, soulless rhetoric, your employer or educational institution who probably has a code of conduct or morality clause can absolutely expel you, terminate you for the rhetoric that you say out loud or on the internet. As somebody that has owned multiple businesses and had employees, if I had an employee come in and tell me to go myself, I can't have them arrested for that, but I can terminate them and refuse to sign their future paychecks because they will no longer be working for me. Is that an infringement on their freedom of speech? No. In the case of Jimmy Kimmel, for everybody saying I stand with Jimmy, why weren't you guys tuning into his show whose ratings were in the absolute toilet? He's been costing his network $40 million. They were looking for an out. So I again remind you, this is not cancel culture. This is consequence culture. Welcome to 2025.
You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox News channel. That's what they're getting now. Tucker's numbers were 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcast out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay, 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because he looks a little silly.
You know, Scott Jennings, you were at this table last night and you defended free speech. Tonight, we are seeing the FCC chairman explicitly threatening a company over speech that they don't like. You're good with it or not?
Well, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's still free to speak. He just isn't necessarily free to do it on ABC, which obviously made a business decision. I see everybody rushing to blame the administration for this tonight. But you had Nexstar, which owns a bunch of ABC affiliates, and Sinclair Group, which owns a bunch of ABC affiliates, saying they were mad about what he did. I'm sure it generated massive numbers of viewer complaints. into the affiliates. A smart TV person said the only thing you can't do in TV is piss off the affiliates. And I think that's what they did.
So then why did Brendan Carr have to say, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way? And then he went on to say that they can either censor Jimmy Kimmel or the FCC will have more work to do. And as you may know, Nexstar has business before the FCC. They have a deal to purchase another TV group, Tenga, for $6.2 billion. In order to do that, they need Brendan Carr to say, yes, you may own more TV stations than is legally allowed right now. So
Remember when Trump voters were using free speech arguments to prevent being purged from social media websites, and all these liberals were saying, you don't have the right to the First Amendment. It's a private corporation. Are you really surprised that they forgot that?
Nexstar already owns lots of TV stations. It wants to merge with Tegna, which owns lots of other stations. In order to do that, it needs Brendan Carr, the FCC chair's permission, and it actually needs the FCC to change the regulations entirely about how many stations an individual company can own. So Nexstar has all of this pending business before the government. Tegna also does, and there's another big station owner called Sinclair that also has business pending before the government. So what do we know tonight? We know that both Nexstar and Sinclair called up ABC this afternoon, complained about Kimmel, and said they were yanking the show off their stations. ABC subsequently yanked the show nationwide. So we know that two major TV station owners, both of which need to curry favor with the Trump administration, were the ones that most loudly and vocally condemned Kimmel and said they were going to not air the show tonight and in the coming nights. It's an Occam's razor situation. It's exactly what it looks like.
Suddenly, they're all making the same argument about the incoming merger. Don't get me started on the Citigroup Travelers merger in 1999, which violated the Glass-Steagall Act and contributed to the 2008 Great Recession. Both CEOs at the time were massive Clinton donors. And do we really think Obama has the high ground here after the NBC-Comcast merger, where, again, both CEOs were major bundlers for the Democrat Party?
Trump vowed retribution on the campaign trail. And he's getting it. He's getting it against entertainers and comedians. But Aaron, for every reaction, there is a counter reaction. Stephen Colbert has already been joking about getting hired somewhere else. Those jokes mask a very real intention, right? Yeah. Where will he get picked up instead? If Kimmel parts ways with ABC, and again, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Kimmel's contract is coming due soon. Kimmel will probably end up somewhere else. And if big, old-fashioned mainstream media companies don't have the guts to employ these people, then we're going to see startups start to flourish. You know, we talk about the Substack era with people launching newsletters and live streams on YouTube. We're going to see more of that if these old-fashioned media companies can't stand a little bit of pressure from the president.
Yeah, well,
gotta love how Brian Stelter is acting like Jimmy Kimmel has this massive following like Joe Rogan and is suffering from institutional censorship. Please.
I would be shocked, genuinely shocked, to see Jimmy Kimmel produce anything that even closely resembles success on an independent platform or endeavor like YouTube, TikTok, or X. I mean, trust me, folks, we do this every day, multiple times a day, and it ain't easy. It ain't easy, but we still manage to pull in more views than Jimmy Kimmel. His views were so low on ABC. I think it's pretty clear. And the writing was on the wall, folks. It was only a matter of time. Perhaps maybe there are talks that Jimmy Kimmel did this on purpose because he knew he was on his way out. Perhaps he knew he had another job lined up somewhere and there was no laugh track. This was not actually a joke. This was his way of making a big stink, a kerfuffle. He was trying to make a scene on his way out the door, make it look like he's the victim versus just up it and quitting. Or perhaps maybe it was worked into his contract where if he got fired versus he got quit, he would still get paid. Be that as it may, folks, the people have spoken and they've made up their minds. Jimmy, nobody likes you. And half your audience was probably made up of paid supporters, bots, and poorly timed laugh tracks. But where were these false protectors of freedoms of speech when George Soros was gobbling up all the radio airwaves?
Chair now recognize Mr. Langworthy from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to enter into the record a letter that I sent to the FCC on April 8th, 2024, urging the Commission to thoroughly scrutinize the transfer of ownership of Odyssey Incorporated to the Soros Management Fund.
Without objection to ordered.
Commissioner Carr, are you aware of this letter?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and can you give me a status update on the proceedings as they relate to the transfer of ownership of Odyssey Inc. to the Soros Fund Management Company?
Yeah, as you've indicated, there's a transaction where a Soros-backed group would take ownership of over 200 radio stations across 40 different markets after the FCC originally indicating that that transaction could be reviewed and approved at the Bureau level without a commission vote. It's now become clear that that is a decision before the full commission, and it's one that I would assume now or in the near future the commission would approve. I think what's interesting about it is that the FCC here is not following its normal process for reviewing a transaction. We have established over a number of years one way in which you can get approval from the FCC when you have in excess of 25% foreign ownership, which this transaction does. And it seems to me that the FCC is poised to create, for the first time, an entirely new shortcut.
Yeah, thank you. As you pointed out here and previously, these proceedings for transfer of ownership have been expedited. What exactly makes this case so deserving of an expedited proceeding so far, from what you could tell?
There is nothing about this transaction that is out of the ordinary. It's the type of thing that we see all the time, and the FCC has a process for this. The full commission itself has never signed off on a shortcut like this. What we usually do is we require people to file a petition with us. We bring in national security agencies. They can review the foreign ownership. It's probably no big deal here, but we review that foreign ownership, and then we vote. Here, they're trying to do something that's never been done before at the commission level.
Yeah, I must say, Commissioner, I am extremely alarmed at what's happening with this transaction. This is very unprecedented. Looking at the facts, it seems that the administration is giving a left-wing billionaire who is a major donor, a close ally, one of the chief funders of all of their efforts and their dark money, a free pass to take control of hundreds of local radio stations, flooding the airwaves with leftist propaganda, and I think it's blatant. What would a normal proceeding look like, Commissioner, here for the transfer of ownership in this nature?
If you follow the process that the FCC adopted back in 2016, there'd be a petition for declaratory ruling. We'd bring in national security agencies. They would review the excessive foreign ownership that's involved here. They would figure out if there's any issues. Again, probably not, but we don't know yet. We haven't reviewed it. That could take 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months. Then the full commission would step in and decide up or down on the merits of the transaction. It looks like we got the cart before the horse this time.
Question in terms of ensuring that everyone gets treated fairly. In the past, you've said, look, if your name is Musk or if your name is somebody who the administration doesn't like, you're going to get different treatment. And that's been the case for the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, that type of lawfare is going to end. For too long in this government, particularly over the last couple of years, your last name dictated how the government treated you. If your last name was Soros, well, the commission bent over backwards and gave you a special, unprecedented commission-level shortcut to buy 200 radio stations. If your last name was Musk, well, then you lost $800 million contracts that you lawfully got. Everybody now is going to get a fair shake going forward.
Will Soros still be able to acquire those 200 radio stations?
There's a petition for reconsideration pending at the FCC right now, and I want to take a very hard look at that.
Okay. We're going to be watching your work closely. Commissioner, thank you so much.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Should FCC Chair Brendan Carr start with the 200 radio stations that George Soros bought right before President Trump took office? I actually had a little bit of a gripe with that yesterday with Keith Overton, and the bullshit that he was talking about. And the fact that he says Trump's America, Trump's America, Trump's America.
Now that we can say with some certainty that if Tyler Robinson indeed shot Charlie Kirk, he shot him for personal reasons because he saw Kirk as a direct threat to somebody he loved. That Robinson was not a stochastic proxy murderer from Antifa or the Groypers or the right-wingers who had so recently called Kirk a fraud, like Laura Loomer. It is then also clear that there is truly only one person whose words created, amplified, mainstreamed, and manufactured this nightmarish environment that has led to Charlie Kirk's death. the leading threat in this country, in this moment, to the safety and the lives of conservatives and Republicans and MAGA commentators and politicians and civilians is not George Soros, and it's not Antifa, and it's not a Democrat, nor a liberal, nor a socialist, nor an immigrant, nor a transgendered person. The leading threat in this country, in this moment, to the safety and the lives of conservatives and Republicans and MAGA is Donald Trump, the individual who's done the most to put the lives and welfare of all of us directly, and also by his perverted lead and demonic inspiration of others, is Donald Trump. The America in which Charlie Kirk was murdered, the America in which Melissa and Mark Hortman were murdered, the America in which Paul Pelosi was beaten, the America in which Donald Trump himself was shot, is Donald Trump's America.
Hey, face. Trump got shot in July of 2024, and I'd have to tell you that was Biden's America, okay? And it's funny how the left, these Democrats, these folks out here, these Hollywood actors and the like. Sorry, I got some freedom birds flying overhead. They want to create this idea, this lie, this narrative of time or exception to the rule when it applies to them and only supports and perhaps maybe pushes their argument, their agenda. But it only works to people or for people who aren't smart enough to know the difference and truly are indoctrinated and are drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah. I watched Abner preach yesterday, and this woman was on there talking about how she's only going to consider being engaged or married and is no longer interested in boyfriend or girlfriend status because it's juvenile, for which they replied.
But this is just where I'm at and how I'm approaching dating at this stage in my life, especially as a single mom and someone who's really intentional with my energy. I've decided that I don't do the whole boyfriend, girlfriend thing anymore. To me, that language, guys, it feels a bit high school. I'm not interested in being anyone's girlfriend. What I'm interested in is being a wife. And for me, it doesn't make sense to give someone exclusive access to me unless there is a formal, tangible commitment. As in, I am engaged or married. Think about it.
When you go to a doctor's office and you fill out a form,
I haven't heard this one before. I'm sorry, I checked out. I feel you.
When you go to a doctor's office and you fill out a form, you only ever see 4 options: single, married, divorced, or widowed. That's it. There is no girlfriend or boyfriend box. That's not even a real status.
Well, it's not a real legal status, but it's clearly a real status, right?
It's a social status. There's a difference between social status and a legal status, but whatever.
Technically speaking, there's also no engaged box, but that matters and counts for you, doesn't it? Do you have a job? Yeah, I have a temporary contract, but so you're unemployed.
So you're employed.
No, I have a 6-month contract.
Yeah, employed.
It's ending, right?
It's ending.
So you're fired.
That's not even a real status.
This is that mindset, folks. It's like you say something, you say one thing, you create this foundation, this structure, this framework, this border. But then when logic is applied and people with brain cells, challenge that, for instance, debate, you don't want to have anything to do with it. And in fact, you would prefer that we be physically harmed just for asking the question, just for trying to provide perspective besides the ideology that you would want to promote and everyone to just accept. But anyway, got a little sidetracked here. George Soros, 200 radio stations to purchase, was illegally allowed by the Biden administration to bypass the normal regulatory approval process, as red flagged by FCC Chair Brendan Carr. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about the radio and George Soros and these Democrats in a minute. So stick with me here, folks. But perhaps, maybe, just maybe, this was pushed through by Hunter Biden, whom was apparently in the room where you can all see how A source told Fox News that Joe Biden's former chief of staff said the former president's son joined pardon discussions and attended multiple meetings. At the time, it's not clear how much say Hunter Biden had in those meetings or whether he was involved in discussions about his own controversial pardon, but he did receive a full and unconditional pardon from his Faja in December of 2024. So there's that.
Here now with the details is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, is with us. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Tell us about these groups that you're going to be investigating.
Well, first of all, the CEOs of those four companies, there's a pattern that's developed among many of the crimes, the most high-profile crimes that have been committed by particularly juveniles over the last several months. The pattern is that the criminals have been using these platforms to communicate with others, and we want to bring the CEOs in to see if they're to see how they market those platforms and what foreign actors are coming in and maybe trying to influence young people to spread hate and to spread violence on those platforms. We want to give the CEOs an opportunity to tell us why they think these platforms are the new form of communication, and if there are things that we can do in Congress to prevent this or to identify this, or if law enforcement can do a better job of identifying potential crimes before they happen. And we don't want to do anything to limit speech, but at the same time, we have to recognize that there is a pattern here, and we need to try to find any solution to prevent these types of mass shootings, these types of high-profile crimes from juveniles from happening again.
The Biden's ex-chief of staff, everything that I read that happened today sounds like the most explosive so far of all the people that you've interviewed. What did you learn today?
Well, he went very far in admitting that Joe Biden was in decline. He admitted that, the debate was a disaster. He said that he thought the president should have had a cognitive test after the debate. But, we had other staffers that came in during the depositions and said that no one talked about that. So there's so many conflicting stories. We brought all the Biden inner circle in to talk about the auto pen, to talk about the Joe Biden's obvious mental decline. And we got a lot of different answers. But this was his chief of staff. Zients was his chief of staff. We believe he was the main user of the auto pen. He also said that Hunter Biden was there present in discussing a lot of the pardons. And look, Joe Biden said in his one interview post-presidency that he didn't okay all the pardons, that he delegated that to his staff. That's not how the pardon process works, Sean. And to learn now that Hunter Biden was in there, a guy who we've already proven was taking money from our adversaries around the world. And you look at who some of these people were who got pardons that were pardoned by the auto pen. These are big money Democrat donors. We had one in Kentucky. There are a lot of questions that need to be asked. But one thing that I can say with confidence is that it was very obvious that Joe Biden was in mental decline. And it's very obvious that his staff was behind the excessive use of the auto pen, and I think that puts the pardons and executive orders in deep legal jeopardy.
What is next? Will you bring in the Biden family?
We're going to talk about it as a committee. We believe we have a lot of information now. Do we want to go several months in trying to bring in more people to talk about this? We've got emails. We've got hours and hours of depositions from the Biden inner circle. I think we've got enough information to issue a report and recommendations to President Trump. I think that, what we suggest will probably end up in court. And I think that we've got a lot of evidence that every American would find very concerning as to the excessive use of the auto pen, a president that was clearly checked out, a staff that was very disrespectful of the president, just like Kamala Harris said in her book excerpts when she said, we never should have let Joe make the decision to run again. That's symbolic of how the Biden inner circle was treating the president of the United States. They just stuck him in a corner and let him look out the window, it appears, while they were using that auto pen.
It truly is remarkable sometimes when you sit back and think about just how corrupt our government is. And I do that a lot. I do it often because as I'm building these videos and creating these compilations and telling these stories and doing the research and backing it up and reading your comments and everything that goes into it, I just stop sometimes and I think, I sigh. I talk to Michelle. We talk about it a lot. But when you really zoom out and look at the inner workings of the Biden administration and Democrats in general, you really begin to see how evil these monsters really are. And they don't give a damn about us. They don't give a damn about you, me. And don't think that for a second that they do, if they tell you that, or believe any of their lies, because it's all for their own self-satisfying, selfish reasoning and purpose of, for instance, let's just look back at the 2024 election. That should be enough said. $2 billion. And now a book has been written and Kamala Harris says Joe Biden was trash, garbage. Like, that's how they operate. They've made nothing great. They did not close the border. They brought internet to no one. They spent $7 to $8 billion and made like 3 charging stations. They left soldiers to die. I mean, hostages, you name it, child trafficking. I don't have the list in front of me, and it's a long list, but I digress. But you best believe that they will pay influencers and try and consume majority control of radio airwaves and social media and mainstream media as best they can to pump more lies, fuel more hate, build up more tolerance for celebrity, for celebrating death, and further developing a cult-like army of the woke to try and tear us down from the inside out. And as I say that, I'm thinking, wait, that sounds familiar. Wasn't that Biden's quote from the inside out? And we already know, again, going back to 2024, how they were paying influencers to promote the Democrats, to promote Kamala Harris, to go to the DNC. It was all a front. It was all a show. It was all a scam, a shrill, a grift. They even put a wall up outside the DNC, but they wouldn't put a wall up around our country. But I digress. There's jokes pouring in and all sorts of memes going viral on the internet right now about Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and how they could start their own version of The View, but this time as women. Working at McDonald's, for which I'm wondering, well, you know who's missing in this picture, right? She too quit or was fired, but actually claimed to have worked at McDonald's. So there's that. One of the funniest ones was seeing a meme of President Trump, and it was like, look, he went from working at McDonald's and cleaning up garbage as a garbage man to being the president and riding around with the king and queen of England, or when he went over to the UK. But honestly, folks, if Jimmy Kimmel decided to move on and do anything like that, that would be probably just as bad a failure as The View is already. And The View's on the chopping block. They have been for a while. Joy Behar has already stated before how she fears that they will ultimately meet their demise because of President Trump. Now, granted, President Trump said goodbye to Stephen Colbert. He stated Jimmy Kimmel was next. Apparently, Seth Meyers is on the list, but The View and none of the hosts of The View's names have been spoken, as far as I can tell and remember, from President Trump. However, much like everything else he said that he would do, is doing. If he speaks that truth to power, then I would be, if I were them, I would be I would already be working on my backup plan, my exit strategy, because, yeah. View in question. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr says it may be worthwhile to investigate whether ABC's The View is violating broadcast rules following Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. Carr argued that the left-leaning talk show could be violating the commission's equal time rule, which requires broadcasters to provide equal opportunity to all political candidates, except for a bona fide news show, for which they are not. You see, we're going back to SNL, equal time. Remember that? Where they brought on Kamala Harris last minute for that. She dodged Joe Rogan to do that, I think is what she did. And then proceeded to go knock on doors, door to door. That was so bad. Election night in Pennsylvania. God, that was such.
Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers at NBC. Just wondering, do you have comments on those shows? And are they doing what Kimmel did Monday night? And is it even worse on those programs, in your opinion?
Well, if you can be unfunny, that's fine. And a lot of people are sort of saying that, well, people are punishing Kimmel because they don't like a joke that he told. But, we don't need to rehash it here. But obviously what he said was not a joke. It wasn't presented at all that way. But when you look at these other TV shows, what's interesting is the FCC does have a rule called the equal opportunity rule, which means, for instance, if you're in the run-up to an election, you have one partisan elected official on, you have to give equal time, equal opportunity to the opposing partisan politician. So far, so good. But there's an exception to that rule called the bona fide news exception, which means if you are a bona fide news program, you don't have to abide by the equal opportunity rule. And over the years, the FCC has developed a body of case law on that and has suggested that most of these late night shows, other than SNL, are bona fide news programs. And potentially, I would assume you can make the argument that The View is a bona fide news show. But I'm not so sure about that. And I think it's worthwhile to have the FCC look into whether The View and some of these other programs that you have still qualify as bona fide news programs and therefore exempt from the equal opportunity regime that Congress has put in place.
Got about 30 seconds.
Hey, quick show of hands. Anybody out there? How many of you want to see The View taken off the air, or at the very least fire all the hosts, just like ABC did Jimmy Kimmel? Or would it be worth keeping them on and making them apologize for all the foul things that they've said? They're nearing retirement age, it seems. And I actually had Grok do this research for me. The current hosts of The View are Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Anna Navarro. And currently, Whoopi's, actually Joy Behar is the oldest. Alyssa's the youngest, but we see how old they are. Whoopi Goldberg is born in November of 55. She's 69. Joy Behar, born in October of 42. She's 82. Sunny Hostin, born in October of 68. She's 56. Sarah Haynes, September of 77, 47 years old currently. Alyssa Farah Griffin, June of 89. She's 36. And Anna Navarro, December of 71. She's 53. The average age of the host is 57, a little over 57 years old. And so Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar are of age to receive Social Security and Medicare, it seems. Picture this. It's a crisp fall day. And, well, it will be soon, but I think we got a couple more days until fall actually begins. But it's a crisp fall day, and you're planning for the year ahead. As a retiree, you've earned the peace of mind that comes with knowing your health care is secure. But with Medicare's open enrollment just around the corner, October 15 through December 7, now is the time to act. Nearly 70 million Americans rely on Medicare, and the choices you make in the next few weeks could save you thousands. Ensure your doctors stay in network and cover the medications you need. Don't let this opportunity slip away. Call Chapter for free, expert Medicare advice, and make the most of your coverage Take John, for example, a 70-year-old retiree who thought his Medicare Advantage plan was good enough. Last year, he skipped reviewing his plan during open enrollment, only to discover in January that his prescription copays had doubled 200%, and his favorite specialist was no longer in network. A quick call to Chapter and their Medicare advisor could have helped John switch to a plan with lower costs and a broader provider network, saving him stress and money. This year, John's not taking any chances. He's reaching out to Chapter to review his options. And why does this matter? Well, because Medicare plans change every year. Premiums, deductibles, drug formularies, and provider networks shift, and small changes can add up to big costs. For 2025, there's big news. Medicare drug plans now have a $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket costs, a game changer for so many folks out there. But with Part B premiums rising and the value-based insurance design VBID program ending, some Medicare Advantage plans may drop extras like dental or vision. And your annual notice of change arriving soon in the mail, so keep an eye out for that, is your roadmap to these updates. But navigating it can definitely feel overwhelming, especially based on what people have been telling me. And that's where Chapter comes in. Whether you're happy with your current plan or exploring new options, Chapter's experts can guide you through the maze of Medicare choices. Original Medicare or Medicare Advantage, where Original Medicare offers flexibility to see any provider accepting Medicare but requires separate Part D and Medigap plans, which can get extremely pricey, while Medicare Advantage bundles hospital, outpatient, and often drug coverage, sometimes with extras like hearing or transportation, but then you're limited to in-network providers. With Chapter's free advice, you'll understand which plan fits your health needs and budget. Don't wait until December 7 to act. Time is short and the stakes are high. Healthcare costs can eat into your savings, but a quick call to Chapter can ensure you're not overpaying or missing out on benefits. Call Chapter today at 270-467-2426 for free personalized Medicare guidance. Like the fall seasons, changing leaves this autumn, this season is your chance to refresh your coverage and secure your future. Make the call. Your wallet and your health will certainly thank you. Well, folks, tell me your thoughts, opinions, leave comments, and this is where I leave you on this video. I'll try to get a few more out today if I can, with this one last clip from former Hollywood, I guess. But watch it all the way through until the end and tell me your thoughts.
Governor Schwarzenegger, I wanted to begin on a very serious and somber note. Last week, as everyone in this room knows, the country witnessed the most horrific murder of Charlie Kirk on a university campus in Utah. It was a highly disturbing event, and I know that it's shaken a lot of members of our community. And I wanted to ask you, what were your reactions to this event, and what can you say to help our community process what this event means for something that we all care so much about, which is even when we disagree with someone vehemently over politics, it should never, ever descend into violence of any kind.
Well, I was very, very upset that someone's life was taken because they have a different opinion. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, this was a great communicator, a great advocate for the right, for Republican causes. And he had such a great way of communicating with the students that agreed or disagreed with him. And I just thought, it's a human being. A human life is gone. And he was a great father, a great husband, and I was thinking about his children. They will only be reading about him now, instead of him reading to them bedtime stories. I mean, it's just unbelievable of what is going on. So I was shocked when I saw this, as we all were. And I think that since then there are endless amount of debates about how do we stop this. But we have to acknowledge that the cause of all of this is the social media companies that are dividing us, the mainstream media companies that are dividing us, the political parties, the Democrats that are dividing us, the Republicans that are dividing us. So we're getting hit from so many different angles. And we have to be very careful that we don't get any closer to that cliff. Because when you fall down that cliff, down there is no democracy. So we have to be very, very careful. And I think it is very important that we turn this around. And that we show people power. Because the people can turn this around. The people have the ultimate power. And so this is why I recommend very strongly that people always say, well, what can I do? I'm just an individual. But each and every one of you in here can make a difference. You can show leadership. This is about leadership. This is a time to show leadership, where USC students from the Democratic Club to the Republican Club can get together. Imagine that you get together and you start having communications together and solving problems together. You will have the media turn out in no time and cover that story. And you will be an example for the rest of the nation and for all universities. How you get together. How you not see the other side as the enemy. Or to fight fire with fire, like they're saying today. Or to declare war on each other, as they're saying today. You can show leadership and you can get together and be this example. Because remember, the people power is the ultimate power. That's what democracy is all about. This is what democracy is all about. If you analyze the word democrat, I mean the Latin, demo, people, crat, power. That's what it is. People power. Not politician power, it's people power. So use that power and start getting together and show to the country and to the world that we can do it. Let's just do it, okay?